OMG. It's Of course, as soon as I boot up the stream and get ready to go, the National Weather Service canceled their severe thunderstorm warning in the area. It was the only warning in the area. So why am I live? Well, honestly, that's a good question. Welcome in the first official severe weather live stream for the East Central Mississippi Weather Watcher. We were under an enhanced risk of severe weather today. Technically, we still are. Taking a look at radar, we do see big clumps of storms up here to the north. Lake County was under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's why I went live. Obviously, it's not there anymore. So there's a big clump of storms up here, but it did something that every storm today has done, and those show some potential. And the next radar scan, they'll turn to a blob. The forecast has not been 100% today, but nobody bets 1,000. So these storms are, I don't want to undermine them by saying they're below severe limits. They're still strong storms. See, here's some very heavy rain between Redwater up in Ethel, Kosciuszko, all the way over to Louisville and Noxapater. Very heavy rain. Possibly even some hail over here southwest of DeKalb. But overall, nothing very imminent in terms of severe weather. We have had a couple isolated severe storms move through. Looks like that report is gone. Well, there was a report of some hail at 0.88 inch in diameter just to the east of Tumsuba. Was another report, 1 inch diameter hail reported by the public here just south of Standing Pine in Leake County. We are technically still under that severe thunderstorm watch until 7. I'm going to be honest, I don't think they will allow it to continue for now. Because let's look at what's behind these storms. It's a bunch of non-severe, clumped up, big mess of rain. And that's about it. Nothing very defined over here. It's not very linear or it's not very strong. Just a big mess of convection. There are some storms down here, south of Crystal Springs and Brookhaven. They have a special weather statement. Special weather statements are issued for storms that are below severe limits, so they aren't technically rewarding of a severe thunderstorm warning, but they're good precursors to future warnings. It basically highlights the fact that the storm is there and there is some potential. Obviously, there is potential. There was a report of a hail, a quarter of an inch down here in this storm southwest of Brookhaven. A couple more in Louisiana. There's really nothing from the south that would move into the area. Not much of anything. But I'll be still not concerned. But the only thing that I would see right now is just this big clump of showers and thunderstorms slowly moving their way into Jackson. And then once they get past Jackson, they're more of our problem. They're really just rain. Now, if we get behind those rain showers, still back here in southeast Texas, western Louisiana, there are some still pretty strong storms. Now, these will take hours to get here. These will get in our state around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. The afternoon mode The prefrontals, eh, they didn't do a thing. And neither did the line. Hasn't really got here yet. It kind of fell apart into a big mess. It's in central Alabama right now. We'll go take a look at that. Looks a good span of. Speaking of spans, I bet he's covering this right now. Large line, severe thunderstorms, all the way from Birmingham. Well, it's actually south of Birmingham, all the way down here near Demopolis, all the way up into Chattanooga. Obviously, a little farther north than our area. Wasn't exactly what was forecasted. It took a more northwesterly to southeastern instead of flip flopping from southwestern to northeastern. You can see a pretty all the way around Demopolis, large line. Once you get to Birmingham, it kind of starts to bow out a little bit till it gets to the Alabama Georgia line. That's evident of strong outflow winds. It's pretty strong winds when you see a bow echo like that. That was something I was expecting we could see, but obviously we haven't. We've seen scatter stuff like this. And don't get me wrong, this is a pretty big storm. It's nasty looking, but nothing in the storm indicates that it's producing anything nasty. Severe thunderstorm in Atala, Choctaw, Montgomery, and Webster counties. That's the only warning in the state. The watch is still out. The Northern Watch has been allowed to expire. This was the first watch of the day. Covered Oxford and Tupelo, Aberdeen, Houston, all the way over to Clarksdale. Possibly some strong winds and maybe even possibly some small hail in DeKalb, indicated by looking at reflectivity. So the radar beams, they go up into the air, they come back to the radar, and they basically tell how big the object had hit. In this case, raindrops. It's raining, convection. How big it was, and how hard or how fast it's falling. And the brighter or stronger the color, the bigger or stronger their precipitation. So zoom in here on DeKalb, you can see reds and yellows and oranges, and here on DeKalb you see a little bit of purple. That could just be very heavy rain. Go over here and look at the correlation coefficient. We do see a slight drop. What that means, these purples and reds is just rain. When the radar beam comes back, it's very cohesive to what's around it. There's a lot of rain falling, and that's normal. When we see these bright colors, that means the radar beam hit something that's not supposed to be there. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit stronger compared to rain. And knock the radar beam back a little bit faster or a different direction. called the correlation coefficient. It correlates to things in our atmosphere. So there's a drop like this, and you see the brighter colors or the values, they get below 1,000. See these purples and reds out here, if this tracker tool will work. These are out here over 1, or thousands, easier way to think about it, up in the 900s. It correlates with what's around it because there's rain out here. If we get here near the cab, we see drops getting to the low 930s, maybe even the 800s. Now, the numbers aren't that specific to remember, but you want to pay attention to the color. And it kind of lines up with the stronger precipitation we're seeing here. That's probably the strongest storm in the area right now over there in Kemper County. Storm that did spark the severe thunderstorm warning over here in Lake County. It's not very organized. We see a line forming. Again, it's not very bow-like. There's not an echo of a bow feature. Just a big line. Anywhere from Carthage up to McCool. You gotta be pretty cool to live in McCool, Mississippi. A lot of rain. Possibly some spotted small hail. Not severe. It doesn't have a special weather statement. Right now, the storm to the north does up here in Tallow County. Actually, they canceled the one for Attala. They just continued it for Choctaw, Montgomery, and Webster. But even without the warning, these aren't weak storms. It can definitely don't want to be outside. I don't think anyone is, but don't want to be outside, or you don't want to drive in this either. Look at this line, Carthage up to McCool. Let's see what's in the way. Pearl River, Noxapater, towards the north, Louisville. This might even we can continue to show something like this, more organization than what's going on over here. We could see special weather statement, severe thunderstorm warning, once again for Neshoba. Neshoba's been the only county in the area today to get any action. They've had a couple, 2 or 3 severe thunderstorms. Kemper County as well. And southern and eastern Neshoba County. I don't know about Meridian, but over towards Tumsuba, extreme northern Clark County. Saw a decent severe thunderstorm. It's formulated into this line over here as it moved into Alabama. If you read the forecast, I'd be confused why it wasn't as the forecast of what actually happened didn't line up as well. I'm trying to get at. Let's take a look at what the forecast was. Pop over here to simulated radar. So this is today at I have to do math. 5 o'clock. Well, it's supposed to happen at 5 o'clock. We see these storms over here. Not much of a line. We also see these scattered showers over here in Louisiana. And as we drag this forward, if it will work, we're going to see more isolated storms be able to get their act together. We also see this big Boeing line in north central Alabama. As we pull this forward, like a whole lot of these individualized thunderstorms are going to train over the area. Obviously, this hasn't happened yet. This is at 9 o'clock tonight, or what could look like at 9 o'clock tonight. Only we see it form to a line now early in the morning, actually late tonight. Apologies, 11 o'clock tonight. As it finally, the whole line overall is pretty slow. Pretty slow. The line forms at 11. This is 1 o'clock. It's still here, but obviously you see we're just getting back end showers. Um, Going into the event, I personally thought that with those prefrontals, and what that means is you have a squall line that forms along the cold front or the dry line of a low pressure center. So your line that is forcing air behind your storms. You can have sails that pop up in front, and they'll, as long as they're in front of the line, don't get overtaken by the line and either get swallowed up or forms an outflow boundary, whatever. Individualized storms in front of the squall line are typically the ones that, if there's going to be a tornadic threat present, those would be the ones you look at. Now, today's threat was pretty low. Before I go into much more detail, we'll go into the official forecast by the Storm Prediction Center. Here's the day one 3 out of 5 enhanced risk. What does that mean? A scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least, just a marginal risk, to 5 being the highest. 3, you think it's pretty low because it lands typically in the middle, but it's somewhat accepted in the community that enhanced risk is somewhat of a threshold for more significant storms. Typically, you'll see that when enhanced risk is driven by tornadoes, and we'll see that 10% hatched. But obviously, we saw nothing like that today. The small tornado threat we have is just a 2%, smallest on the scale. We haven't seen many tornadoes. Now, the environment thermodynamics, so that'd be your moisture, your heat, your CAPE. CAPE levels, convective available potential energy, or in layman's terms, storm juice, thunderstorm fuel, gasoline for your car. CAPE is gasoline for thunderstorms. Off the charts. Probably because we've had such a prolonged period of warming. You felt it. It has been warm in the month of April. And CAPE levels were off the charts. That means there's just a lot of energy in the atmosphere, a lot of heat, a lot of moisture. The only thing that was missing, or what we would call the fail mode, the ingredient that wasn't there, was shear. Shear is veering of the winds in direction or intensity as you vary with height. Or simply put, it's how much the atmosphere around you is spinning or pushing up against each other, creating a lot of tension. There wasn't much of that. There's a lot of things that can be attributed to that. They could be weak forcing, probably what it was. The low pressure center wasn't that strong. our area in particular was pretty far away from the low pressure center. Because if you think about it, I wish I could draw on here. Think about it, for this whole area to have this severe weather, we have this whole line. It's either a cold front or a dry line, and then your warm sector in front. Apologies for that. I think my mic was muted. Maybe that works. Mic check 1 2 3. 1 2 3. Don't tell me first stream I broke the setup. Can you hear me now? Apologies for that. It's like a $25 mic, so if it breaks, I wouldn't tell you that I was surprised. All right, this line of storms that was pretty straight a while ago, it's not straight anymore. What does that mean? Well, seeing as there's not much inflow into these storms, I'm not very concerned for embedded supercells that could produce tornadoes. It's just weird appendages on this storm. It's a strong storm. Don't get me wrong. If you're in Leake County, Neshoba, Kemper, that hail that we were looking at near DeKalb, looks like it could be moving up to Scuba. If it's not hail, some very heavy rains. Storm is big, and it's not weak by any means. It's just not warned. It's not even a special weather statement on it. I'd watch out there in Fall River or extreme northwestern Neshoba County. Got one viewer in the stream. So for the one viewer, I hope you're enjoying your time right now. 5 views on the overall stream. Not really much to talk about. I just came on here to kind of explain why the time for the stream was bounced around. I thought we would need to go on early, around 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, but nothing happened. That's the name of the game today. Nothing has really happened. That's not true for some places. Middle or South Central Tennessee, northwestern Alabama near Huntsville and Florence, and even southwestern Kentucky. They've seen a lot of warnings. I'm not sure if they've seen destructive storms or significantly damaging storms. I don't think that's true by any case, but down in Texas, western Louisiana, there was a tornado warning about half an hour ago, but I think that has been allowed to expire. Texas has seen some pretty large hail today, and probably not tornadoes on the ground, but they have had some warnings. I know there's a lot of chasers in Texas today. Well, we had the severe weather today. It's a big system that's going to move out. Not really much to talk about it. So let's talk about what's going to happen after it moves out. We're going to see after this very, I honestly say, underwhelming severe weather event. So let's switch over to a more long range model, the GFS. We'll look at the whole country. My page would load. There we go. This is the severe storms we have seen across the nation today, all the way from extreme western New York. The moderate risk even extended into Vermont and New Hampshire, all the way down to the Mexico Texas border near San Antonio and Houston. Let's bring this forward. So this is uh, early tomorrow morning, around 1 o'clock, and we see as this low pressure center moves off, we see a dip behind it. The low pressure center is a cold core storm. So behind it, there's cold air. That's why it's called a cold front. In front of it, there is a warm sector or a warm front. So behind this low pressure center moving out, you can see this center of high pressure is also pulling in some colder air from Canada And we will see this dip down into the central United States. What does this mean? Well, if we pull this back up to Sunday, it's easier to really see. Sunday morning, we see cooler temperatures move in. These tighter uh, wind barbs, or I, maybe I was completely forgot what these are called. These lines that you see here, we use the technical terms over here. Look at these red lines. Mm. That's some tighter and stronger winds coming in off of the Great Lakes and Canada. We're coming in. Or you can get some cooler air. I know in my official May forecast, I talked about May being a little warm, kind of like April. We had a pretty warm April, especially to the end. Broke a few temperature records locally across the area. We'll take a look at the temperatures after the system moves through. So you see, here's our warm front, all the way from extreme southern Texas up into New England. Well, technically a warm front, but it's still up here in the 50s in Maine and Vermont, New Hampshire. Pull this forward, and you can see as our system moves through, there's warm advection there on the daylight heating of Saturday. As the system moves through, it pushes that warm air out to sea. And what comes in behind it? Early morning Sunday, we see cooler temperatures dip down. We're in the 50s here in east central Mississippi. We're in the 40s here in Missouri, Arkansas, Illinois. May the 4th. I could make a joke about that. I'm not going to. I'm not a Star Wars person. Never have, never will. But first few days of May, our unofficial opening to summer. We're gonna start it in the 50s. Let me drag this up a little bit more. And we'll actually see a pretty cool weather phenomena here. No, I don't think I've ever talked about this. Maybe you don't know what it is. So, if you can see, we have these greens and yellowish colors over here. It signifies cooler temperatures. We're on Tuesday. We're still in the upper 50s and lower 60s down here. So, a good break from the high 80s and 90s we saw a couple weeks ago. You can see these reds and oranges, they come up through Tornado Alley, classic Tornado Alley, right? Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, the Dakotas. We're seeing some warm air in the middle of the country, some cooler air over here in the east central portions of the country, and some extremely cold air over here in the mountain northwest and the deserts over here. But large cold blast coming down from western Canada, some cooler air coming down from eastern Canada, and some warm advection from the Gulf and South Pacific coming up in the middle of the country. It's a weird pattern. It's actually has a name. It's called the Omega Block. It's called the Omega Block because if you think about it, we have a low pressure center, which brings severe weather. A low pressure center is driven by cooler air. So to get a low pressure center, it has to come from a cooler place. So when the western half of the country is cool, uh, particularly during uh, late spring, early summer, up there in Seattle and Oregon. Pressure centers right along the jet stream off the Pacific, and it's cooler in the west. They form, they strengthen, then they move over the Rocky Mountains. They physically get squished by the Rocky Mountains. And then obviously it's warm over here in the east and the south because of our great Gulf to the south. That always, has us sitting in the 60s and 70s for dew points. Love that thing, don't we? But cooler in the west, hotter in the east. That is your equation. Well, we can go back over here and look that is not the case. It's cooler in the east and cooler in the west. So any storm system, any low pressure system that gets going, once it gets mature enough over the Rocky Mountains, it's going to run to a pocket of cooler air. It's not going to be able to formulate as much convection. So it's called the omega block because typically when we see something like this, we get a little break from strong weather. It's pretty rare. I can't remember the last time we had a pretty significant one a couple years ago. I want to say 2022 or 2023. It might have been that winter that we had the severe ice storm. It might have been that year that we were very cold in the east and in the west. Don't quote me on that though. But it's a pretty rare phenomenon. We'll see how long it lasts. Well, I mean, hey, we're out to Wednesday, and we're still in the 60s. And, well, almost the 70s. But see, we actually don't heat up. The West is heating up significantly. Up to the 70s, 80s over here in California. So it doesn't last long. Maybe it lasts a couple days. But then the whole country's gonna start heating up because it's May, and that's what we do. But still, it doesn't look like we'll get, well, if we get to closer to the weekend, we're getting those 80s again. Getting those 80s again. It's a normal pattern again. But pretty cool to see something like that happen. Go back to our short-term models. Take a look at this one last time before we get off. I might get kicked off. I only have a limit of an hour on YouTube. I didn't know that. 13 minutes left. Let's take a look at what we could possibly see. So we'll switch over to the reflectivity. Friday, that's today at 18Z. I don't know how we're backing up. This is a look at what was happening at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Oh, hit the wrong button. This look at what should have happened at 1 o'clock. And see, this is why in my forecast I said around 4 p.m. we see those cells popping up. Don't we? And when I took a sounding earlier today, it looks decently severe, marginally severe. I don't think I've gotten to this yet. Warm air is pretty deep. Tape levels they were a lot higher near the surface than they actually were. It cooled off a bit today, so that led to a little bit less instability closer to the ground, which might have led to less updrafts, more outflow and downdraft dominant storms, which typically we see in windstorms or like derechos and bow echoes and stuff like that. But over here is what we call the hodograph. Sounds complicated, but all they do is each National Weather Service office, they take a balloon. It's almost like the one you find at the store, and you stick a whole bunch of sensors in it. And like you were a kid growing up, and can't keep the balloon anymore, you just let it go in the sky. It's a whole bunch of kids at the National Weather Service. What it is, let it go. It comes back, and they see how did the wind carry that balloon? How hard did it push it around? What direction did it move it in? It basically tells us how much or how little the atmosphere around us is spinning. So if the clouds above our head and the winds are spinning, then the convection that pops up, the clouds that pop up, they'll start spinning. When you get big spinning storm cells, what do you get? You get spinning mesocyclones, and then you get spinning funnels of air on the ground called tornadoes. But that's to explain a photograph. And typically, when you see a strong signal for tornadoes, you get this big, wide curve. Looks like a curved bean. I can't really explain what this is. A big mess. Because there's not much spin in the atmosphere. It's pretty calm up there. It's hot. There's a lot of energy up there. A lot of humidity. There's nothing up there to spin that into a storm. That's why the tornadic potential is pretty low. And even lower than it was forecasted. So the cells that I forecasted that never really happened. We pull forward and we see another line of storms that, let's be honest, never really happened. These are storms we're probably seeing now. This is actually no, this is in the morning. Take a look at what's happening in the morning. Right now it is 7:21. This is what we're gonna supposed to be seeing around 7 o'clock. We'll take a sounding. Now that you know what a hodograph is, we'll take a sounding. And again, marginal severe. Really bad shear. Some decent cape levels. Surface is not bad. But as you can see, we've kind of cooled off. It started the day in the upper 70s. Now we're in the upper 60s, lower 70s. What you want to typically see on this corkscrew graph, which simply put it is the easiest way to explain it. The red line is temperatures. The green line is dew points. So you see the difference to determine if the air, as we go up in the atmosphere, this is near the ground, this is really high in the air. As we go up, which layers are hot and moist, which layers are hot and warm, which layers are cool and moist, and which layers are cool and dry. And you see that to determine instability, and that's CAPE levels, see how much energy is in the atmosphere. Not the greatest looking thing ever, but still marginally severe. And that's what we're supposed to be seeing right now, but if we go back and take a look, not much severe is going on. And we are past 7 o'clock. We were past 7 o'clock 20 minutes ago because I'm rambling. Yep, I'm rambling. The severe thunderstorm watch has been allowed to expire. These showers over here, the west, about all the way up to Grenada, all the way down past Natchez. These will move into our area probably around midnight. They'll get close to being over here. I don't see any severe storms popping out of this because you see this. This is even light rain out here near Monticello, Arkansas, Cleveland, and Greenville, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana. This is light rain, just a special weather statement down here for the cell just south of Natchez, but all this is just going to form a big, messy rain. Maybe some thunderstorms here just between Vicksburg and Jackson, northwest of Crystal Springs, but even that is not certain. Obviously, we see from today, nothing here is certain. I'm not trying to dog the National Weather Service that much. They do great work, fantastic work. 7 minutes left on the stream now before YouTube kicks me off. What else are we going to talk about? It was a good look here at the. I'll leave that. I'm here and look at some things for tomorrow. We'll be posting a daily forecast in the morning, but take a look at what our official National Weather Service office in Jackson has for us lined up tomorrow. Guess they don't have anything here yet. They just have the severe weather for today. Well, guess that means I'm making the forecast for tomorrow. Let's take a look at it. Nothing over here to see at the real radar. Real radar. I mean, all of them. Real time radar. Our amazing Doppler radar service over here. There is more thunderstorms, isolated storms over here in Texas. These won't affect our area till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's something for 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning me to figure out. But for now, because nothing is happening, and I have like 5 minutes left. Not even that. I do have 5 minutes left. Let's switch over. Take a look at what we can be seeing tomorrow. Look at temperatures first. You see that I was explaining how you can see fronts move through on temperature maps because you see the hottest temperatures, 85s, 84s across the area. You can see as we pull this forward, you can see the 70s and the 60s move in behind the low pressure center. So this line that we see, it's called a temperature gradient. That's where our storms are. Pull this forward. This is at midnight tonight. So all the storms that affect us in the morning, pull this forward. This is 10Z, 11Z, so it's like 5, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. The storms that will be moving in from East Texas, you can see the land that they're moving across. Those thermodynamics we're talking about that we had, they won't be as evident because 65, 67, 63, it's not much to use out here. It was all depleted today. So we'll move this forward. See another little line move in. It's later in the afternoon. We'll heat back up into the 70s, but look at this. Sunday morning. 54, 55 in Meridian. What a break. Let's check. Did I get that in time? 3 minutes left. I hope the stream isn't lagging. It's not my fault. Just the lovely internet reception we have here in rural East Central Mississippi. Speaking of that word, that's a weird word to say. That's my final point. That's what I'm going to leave you with. RURAL. It's a weird word. Also, what happened with our weather today? Weird. And some expert analysis right there. 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm honestly not too concerned. I'll tell you, I'm going to sleep. I'm not staying up to stream. If something happens, I will continue to do updates on Facebook and Instagram. How can you find that? Here's the QR codes. Links to the official East Central Mississippi Weather Watcher Facebook page and the Instagram where you can find real-time warnings, updates, things like that. I also post daily forecast every morning there. Also the official blog. That's where you'll get even more longer written content weekly forecast. You'll get severe weather outlooks. You you can also find month-long outlooks. I posted one for May the other day. Go check that out. 2 minutes left near the end of the stream. Let's get this out. Let's go back to the official Storm Prediction Center website. We'll see what they have in store for the next couple of days. For us, just some thunderstorms tomorrow. This will include tomorrow morning. It's the more, oops, some more northern portions of this severe weather line that we've seen. North Carolina, Virginia, things like that. Take an even further look. We're pretty clear. Just long range outlooks. These aren't as good. But hey, I think I'm the only one complaining that we didn't have strong severe weather. It's a good thing the forecast wasn't as perfect. I've got 1 minute left, and I don't have much else to say. Uh, Make sure you have a way to receive warnings. At like 5 o'clock this morning, you'll be asleep. Get something that can wake you up, like a weather radio, your phone. Those are the two best ways you can receive warnings. I'm not gonna break in at 5 o'clock in the morning, so find you someone else on social media to get your warnings or WTOK, your local TV news. Well, that's all for me. Like I said, that's a good thing that it didn't go as planned. But anyways, I will see you all next time. Good night.